Your control. Yo, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Lincoln Clay coming back at you. Finally got my hands on the Titanic VR. It was a little bit of a. Right now, I'm in sandbox mode, and I'm on my way to explore the wreck. And if you look down at the Ice Queen Gaming, how you doing? And if you look down at that radar right there, I am approaching the wreck. And there it is. Glad to hear you're doing fine, Ice Queen Gaming. Now, I've talked about it before, about how I believe this is not the Titanic. I'm convinced that this is her sister ship, the Olympic, that sits at the bottom of the ocean. The Olympic had been involved in several accidents under E.J. Smith. I guess he had a pretty bad track record. That he's had a few accidents. When he was captain of several ships owned by the White Star Line. Coon, what is up? And with the Olympic, the most crucial accident they had involved a British destroyer, hit the back, port side of the ship. No, wait. Starboard side. I think the starboard is the right side of the ship. So, rear of the ship, right side, I believe starboard as they say it, and tore a huge hole in the side of the ship. Some rivets, a lot of rivets popped loose. Some beams were buckled, and more importantly, the keel of the Olympic was bent. And the keel, the way they built ships back then, the keel was basically the back. And so to put it in simpler terms, the ship's back was broken. And when the British Inquiry did their investigation, naturally, since this is the British government doing the inquiry, and that British destroyer, was part of the British Navy, naturally, the British Inquiry found that the Navy did nothing wrong. The White Star Insurance refused to pay up for the damage that was done to the ship. And so to make it even more fucked up was because the ship had a broken back, a bent keel, the ship would never pass another inspection again. Therefore, the ship would have been ordered to be taken out of service, which means they wouldn't have been able to make any money because the ship's not in operation. And they couldn't have sold the ship for scrap because they wouldn't have gotten their money back. So back in I think back in 1910, when construction started on the Olympic, might have been even 1909. This ship cost, I think, $7.5 million to build this ship back in 1909. So by today's standards, who knows? That might be about about 100 million, quarter of a billion, who knows? So they came up with the scheme to sink this ship on purpose. So they did several things that looked suspicious. They believed that the names of the ships were switched. And normally, so let me get a little bit closer so you can see the ship, which is freaky. This is just absolutely freaky. So, right here on the side of the ship, I noticed in this game, they do not have the name of the ship on the side. At least I couldn't find it. And that is a huge fucking anchor. So, right here on the side of the ship, I don't know. That almost looked like a T right there. straight line. But in any case, White Star back then, they engraved the name on the side of the ship. But when Titanic started her maiden voyage, which we know, which I believe is the Olympic, the letters Titanic were riveted onto the side of the ship and not engraved, probably to cover up the name Olympic underneath it. And so we also know that J.P. Morgan, he was the owner of this ship, you know, a White Star, more or less. He was trying to, I think he already had a monopoly with railroads. And I think he was trying to create a monopoly, in the maritime, with the maritime shit, with shipping. So he got a bunch of companies to join together, and what he was trying to do. He was trying to get all the ships to come together. PS5 needs to have Yakuza 7 as a launch game. Hey, would you buy it? So in any case, I guess J.P. Morgan was supposed to be on the Titanic when it made his maiden voyage, but at the last hour, he canceled and decided not to go, claiming that he was sick. Not only that, he had several rare statues. I haven't tried to go inside yet. Arian Drake, what is up? So JP Morgan at the last minute, he canceled and claimed that he was sick. And he had like several rare statues that was on the ship removed from the ship. So that tells me that he didn't find out about the switch until the last minute. Oh, I just hit something. That's a scary noise when you hear that. Will Crap Gamer ever get a job? I don't know. This is the cargo hatch. And I tried to, last time I played this game, I tried to send a little robot sub down there, and I really couldn't go down there. Now this part laying in front of us right here, this is the crow's nest. From where, the guys, saw the iceberg. You can see it right here. This is the crow's nest right here. This also looks like a davit. Underneath, it's got that rope. That also looked like a davit that probably collapsed, Yeah, the Titanic always interested me too, Lunkin. Yeah, but how do you feel about the theory about this ship, about these ships being switched? Because I'm convinced this is not the Titanic. I'm convinced that this is the Olympic, that she was deliberately sunk to collect the insurance money. Right there, that's crazy right there. This is the wheelhouse. And right there, that's basically the mount for the wheel that, steered the ship. Enough, Titanic documentaries that I've got some idea of what's what. Damn it. That's a creepy ass noise every time I hit something. I don't know why I'm hitting shit. But I will tell you this. After seeing this shit, this guarantees that I would never want to come down here and see this shit. Because as you can see, other than the light from my robot sub, you can't see shit. And this is the bow. I haven't seen the stern yet, because the ship broke in half, and I guess the stern is like a couple of miles away from here. And I guess the stern is almost unrecognizable. The only interest I would have in wanting to see the stern is to see those reciprocating engines sticking out, sticking out of the back of the ship. So my thinking was that, you actually cannot see, this thing is so big, you actually cannot see this entire ship underwater. Even with that thing they did with Ghost of the Abyss, supposedly, Craig Harris, is this Mass Effect? No, this is history. This is a history lesson. You are looking at the RMS Olympic, which the world seems to think that this is the Titanic. This is not the Titanic, in my opinion. This is the Olympic. She was switched to collect insurance. Yeah, that's terrible. See, the thing about it was, White Star made a grave miscalculation. Supposedly, according to this conspiracy theory, they had a ship ready to take the passengers off the ship. And when this ship struck the iceberg, they were waiting for the ship to come and rescue them. And the Titanic was firing off flares. And I guess they were firing off like red and blue flares. And I guess they saw a ship on the horizon, but it was a fishing boat. There was illegally seal fishing there. And it was firing white rockets. And the reason why it was firing white rockets was to recall all their fishing boats back to the ship, because I guess they thought the Coast Guard was coming. But I would not want to come down here and see this shit. First of all, I understand the pressure this far at the bottom of the ocean is enough to crush you like a grape. So you looking at through this shit, if that window were to crack or any part of this ship were to let water in, it'll probably crush you so fast you wouldn't even have a chance to scream. I'll move a little bit closer, but I'll go to the back of the ship too. Now, look, as you can see, you can kind of see it right here, because right here, the ship is kind of sitting straight. But as you look at it right here, you see the front of it tends to dive down. And that's what they're saying this looks like at the bottom of the ocean. That the front end of the ship kind of collapsed a little bit. But after we look around the ship, I'll do the Titanic experience, where we're sitting inside the lifeboat, and you can actually see the ship break in half and go underneath the water from that lifeboat. You said Thrash tried to join another chat of yours. Okay. So there is so much shit from this documentary that I've seen that points towards the theory of the ships being switched. Not only that, not only did JP Morgan cancel out at the last second, there are a lot of first-class passengers who were friends or they were associates of JP Morgan. There was a lot of rich people, and they canceled out at the last second too. Also, I guess the Titanic was capable of holding like, I think like 3, maybe 4,000 people, but only 2,200 were on board. I guess there was some first class cabins that were available, but you know, some of these people were offered second class cabins instead. And that and the reason why the conspiracy theory believes is because they couldn't clean up everything, you know, because there were parts, assuming this was Olympic, there were some parts of the ship that were repainted. Carpet was laid down to cover up the worn linoleum floors. And, you know, it sounds to me like they wasn't able to cover everything up in the ship. So anything that they couldn't cover up, they just closed it off, period, and wouldn't let any. So this right here is just a bit twisted piece of steel. But this is like the front half of the ship. This is the back part of that.
To your left, dude.
And you can see how it's collapsed. See if I get a little bit closer so you can see it better. Another bit. And see, and one thing people don't know is based on the way this ship was built, it was supposed to break in half. I guess there's a weak spot right in the middle of the ship. And they thinking this is exactly where the ship broke in half. Right at that weak spot. And not only that, right where that weak spot is, I guess there was like passages to carry air down to the coal workers, you know, working in the bottom of the ship. There was, you know, putting coal in the boilers, you know, to keep the steam pressure up. Another thing that, like, after watching this documentary, after the ship struck the iceberg, and everybody knows that Thomas Andrews went and took a look at the damage, and, you know, water was like pouring in, and I think he said it was like, you know, in the movie Titanic, you heard him say that, you know, there was water like 15 feet above the keel in like 10 minutes. And so, according to this documentary, it took them like I think it took them like a half an hour to send off the first flare after they struck the iceberg. It took like a half hour to send off the first flare. It took like 45 minutes to start the pumps. You know, when you got a guy telling you that the water's pouring in that fucking fast, it shouldn't take you 45 minutes to get the pump started. So looking at that radar, we're making our way back towards the front of the ship. You know, this is the port side of the ship, or the left side of the ship. And you look at that radar. You know, but this game doesn't do anything to shed the light on my belief about the conspiracy theories. In one of my podcasts, I had placed a link about this documentary that says the Titanic switch, you know, Titanic conspiracy is real. One thing I don't believe is I saw a documentary that claims that the Titanic was deliberately sunk to start the Federal Reserve Bank. And I guess the story behind that is that J.P. Morgan was wanting to start the Federal Reserve Bank. But I guess there had to be like a unanimous vote against it, you know, a unanimous vote for it. And some people, including John Jacob Astor, was against it and voted against it. And so according to this documentary, you know, the people that were against it, they were given a free ride on this ship, basically to be taken for a ride to the death. You know, with them out of the way, then they can get that unanimous vote to go ahead and start the Federal Reserve Bank. That I just don't know about, you know, because I don't know about that kind of shit, you know. But one thing's for certain about J.P. Morgan, everything he did, he was trying to start a monopoly. But I mean, all I got is this flashlight right in front of me from this submersible. I'll deploy the robot sub just so you guys can get a look at how this submersible looks from the outside. Alright, this is the robot sub. So I'll move away from the submersible that I'm in and turn around and let you guys see the submersible. I hate those quick turns with this robot sub though. But yeah, I went down into that hatch. I went down into this cargo hatch, which I guess supposedly I seen like a little bit of a documentary called Ghost of the Abyss, and those robot subs went through the ship and inside the ship, and supposedly there's a car down there. Oh, what do you guys think of this? Oh, you know what? I just thought about this. This is Sandbox. So let me let's go see the stern. After we see the stern, then we'll go ahead and play out that night when it sunk. Yeah, let's go back to the main menu. And let's go have a look at the stern. Yeah, look, I've definitely been fascinated with the Titanic. One of the things that, one of the first things that got me fascinated with the Titanic was that, when I learned that all those people died and all those people were floating in the water, this was before, before the movie Titanic. I didn't realize how cold those waters were, and I didn't realize that, somebody would basically die within a few minutes of being in that cold water. So my original thought was that all those people that were floating at the top of the water, that the sharks probably got them, but because of how cold those waters are, only one kind of shark can live in that water. And I think it's I want to say it's the sand shark or the blue shark or whatever it is. This shark is about the size of a whale. This shark is about 40 feet long, but it doesn't eat meat. So that, so that shark wouldn't have got him. So new objective, explore the stern. So we're moving towards the stern. And this is my first time seeing the stern, just like you guys. So anyway, originally thinking that those bodies were probably eaten by sharks. That's what started my fascination with the Titanic. And then as I started doing more and more research, I have a book that was given to me that shows like everything that was on the Titanic, like 20,000 bottles of beer and all kinds of stuff. Oh, that will be cool to go to the stern and see that propeller at the back of it. You can see it right there. There's as we're coming up on it, those are the engines. And this looks to me like, shit, this debris that's just laying on the ocean floor. There should be, RD, what's up? Let me go up because this should be the reciprocating engines right here. Just like in Ghost of the Abyss, they say those things look like two spinks. Now, I guess this part of the ship is like unrecognizable. Holy shit, look at this mess here. Damn. And they're guessing that, like, when this back half of the ship hit the bottom, that there was probably like an air pocket inside the ship, so when it hit the bottom, it just blew everything out. Also, in this documentary, towards the end of the documentary, they showed footage of what a robot sub caught, and I guess supposedly it's you know, you could see the word Titanic, a couple of letters had fallen off, and underneath it you could see what appears to be a M and a P that's engraved into the side of the ship. To put it in simple terms, one thing I didn't know about the Titanic was that the ship had a steering wheel in the back of it. So whenever they, you know, needed to park it, you know, somebody would take control of that steering wheel towards the back of the ship, you know, when they were trying to back it in somewhere. So I want to see that propeller. Oh shit. Man, this ship is just decimated. So I want to see that propeller. So as you can see, it looks like we're at the back of the ship. And I wonder if we can see the word Titanic at the back of the ship, because there's the rudder. So this is right here. This is where we would normally see the name Titanic on the back of the ship. You said you can get inside and also see what? Oh, the stairs? Yeah, there's the propeller right there. Now, this doesn't really prove anything, but according to that conspiracy theory, the Olympic had an accident where I think they ran over something, and this propeller came off, this right propeller. So, because they needed to keep this ship running and making money, the Titanic was still under construction. So they took the propeller that was meant for the Titanic and put it on the Olympic. And that propeller was stamped with number 401 that was supposed to go to the Titanic. So I don't know what happened with, you know, actually I think it threw a propeller twice. And both times they had to go get propeller, you know, 401 that was meant for the Titanic. And I guess like a robot sub that went near the propeller, you know, saw what was, you know, the numbers 401, which was barely visible. Yeah. See, if I was inside that robot sub, if this was like real life, I would have been shitting bricks hearing that damn noise, because I would have I'm about to hit the fucking ship right there. See, that kind of shit. It's pitch fucking black, and you know, and this ship is a fucking behemoth. So I think this ship was almost 900 feet long. So if this is real life and I'm at the bottom of the ocean and we bump into that ship, I'm scared for two reasons. I'm scared because we hit this thing, you know, it might be brittle and some shit might start collapsing if you bump into it. Not to mention that I'm thinking if you know, crack this sub but the slightest, that pressure will probably crush you so fast you won't have a chance to scream. All right, let's get inside the lifeboat and see what it looked like from the lifeboat watching the ship sink. You know, at some point sooner or later, I will go explore the inside of the ship. All right, at this point, just nothing you can do nothing I can do except just sit back and watch the experience. So this is about an hour and a half after it hit the iceberg.
Women and children! This way! Women and children!
Head for that ship on the horizon. Transfer your passengers and tell their captain to come at once. We require urgent assistance.
Surely they can see our rockets, sir.
If they can, they are not responding. As quickly as you can.
Aye, aye, sir.
Look at those giant smokestacks.
Quickly now! Women and children!
And those smokestacks, only 3 of them actually worked. The 4th one was there just for cosmetics.
Quickly! The boats are leaving!
Daddy, where are we going?
Shh, love, we're going on a little adventure. We'll be back soon.
Over here. Let's try this one.
I'm afraid it's women and children only, sir.
Please, sir, can't you see my wife needs help with the children?
Sorry, sir. Captain's orders.
What's the meaning of this? Is this a drill?
Only a precaution, sir. Everyone will be back aboard in good time.
John, I can't manage without you.
I had heard that they were trying to build a new Titanic, and I've seen some photos of this
I'll get on another boat.
thing. I don't know if it's under construction or not. I don't know if these photos was real or not.
John, I don't see any men boarding lifeboats.
I'm sure there's other boats further down letting men board. Right, David, help your mother and sister board.
Yes, Dad.
I'm sorry, sir. Women and children only.
For God's sake, he's just a boy.
What age is he?
He's only 16.
He'll have to stay on board with the other men.
God's sake.
Do something, John.
Is there nothing you can do? My wife can't manage alone.
I'm afraid not, sir. Captain's orders.
Hey, the officers are letting the boys leave on the other side. You must hurry.
Thanks, friend. Marie, take the baby. Look after Emily. We'll get on another boat. Emily, Daddy loves you very much. Be good for your mother and sister. We'll see you again soon.
Daddy, don't go. You have to come with us. We won't be able to find you.
Shush now, love. You're going on the boat with your mom and your sister. We'll be along shortly, I promise.
Daddy, I don't want to go.
Women and children.
Go straight to the next boat. Do what you must to get aboard. Do you
See,
understand?
it's 1:10 a.m. So the front of the nose of the ship is already sinking into the water, so people gotta have already noticed that by now.
No!
Here,
No,
let me help.
Daddy,
Emily,
please.
go. You have to go with your mother.
You.
Go.
Please let me go with
No.
you. Dad,
We'll be all right. Be
please.
good, child. We'll see you soon.
We'll head straight for another boat.
Women and children. Final call.
Right, it's time to go.
No! She must be terrified.
Oh, the poor thing.
Ready to ropes.
Bye. Bye, Emily. Bye,
All
Marie.
away.
Daddy!
There, sweetheart. They'll be fine.
Thank you.
My daughter was the same growing up. Father's favorite.
Do you believe there's any real danger?
Oh, no, dear. I saw men locking the watertight doors as I left my cabin. I'm sure we will be back on board soon.
Hey, how do we get to the lifeboats?
Some of these dudes are just waiting for their death.
Hey, how do we get to the lifeboats?
At least, but I guess supposedly by now they still don't know the ship is
There should
sinking.
be boats in the third-class decks, but I haven't seen any.
Surely there must be extra boats kept elsewhere. Otherwise, how can all the passengers leave the ship?
How's your ankle, Helen? You took quite a tumble boarding the boat.
Swollen. I think it may be broken.
Oh dear. When we get back on board, Dr. O'Loughlin can look over it. At least this could make an interesting story for your next novel.
Yes, well, perhaps this type of adventure novel would best suit Colonel Gracie.
Oh, I do hope Father is safe. Surely he'd be safer on board the Titanic than here in this boat. Yes, well, this is not quite the ending to our adventure that I was expecting. Do you remember Father's face when we read?
Steady forward and lower away astern.
Steady forward. Lower together, men.
Hold off! I can't manage this boat with only one seaman.
Are there any sailors aboard? Present yourself. This boat needs another hand. I am a yachtsman, sir. I can row. If you're seaman enough to get onto that boat, you can go. Swing over that loose rope.
Ready?
Oh my goodness.
There, by the oarlock.
Thank you.
Ready! Lower away!
Can't even see him.
Lower together.
It's so
But
dreadfully cold.
There he is, though. I see him right there.
How long must we sit in these boats?
Till morning. Be
There he is
glad
right
you're
there.
in
He just
here
took a
and
seat.
not up there.
I was an unpleasant man.
Yeah.
Mass was lovely this
Oh,
morning.
Fight Night in VR,
How
absolutely.
nice the captain attended.
Yes.
Until right
This
now,
is his
Creed is the
last
best we
journey
got.
commanding a ship.
Such a beautiful ship to retire with.
There was a planned lifeboat drill this morning. They postponed it so the captain could attend mass instead.
Oh, perhaps that explains why the sailors on the deck seemed almost unprepared when lowering this lifeboat.
J-Dog, what is
Why
up?
our lifeboat has only 3 sailors.
Yes, this whole affair has been managed rather badly. I shall be making a complaint when we come aboard Titanic.
Help! I'm trapped! Help! Help!
Mommy, I'm scared.
Shh, it'll be fine.
Get ready to release the ropes.
Aye, aye, sir.
Alright. So we're down in the water
There's
now.
water coming in.
Get that plug in. The boat will founder.
I have it.
You there. Stand on that plug. Make sure it doesn't come out.
Well, I never...
Man the oars. We need to leave this ship. Her suction will pull us under.
It's a game and an experience. I really didn't play the game that much. You're supposed to be like part of an expedition down to the Titanic, placing a plaque, going and explore the inside of the ship. But I didn't get that far because I just wanted to explore the wreck,
We can help row.
and I wanted to see what it was
Men
like
will row.
I can steer the
being
rudder
on that
so
lifeboat
you can
when
row.
it
No,
sunk.
you will not. Sit down.
Look how long this thing
Look,
is.
child. Look what I have here. He's friendly. He won't bite. Would you like to hold him?
He's so soft.
Can you look after him for me? While we're on this boat.
That thing is huge.
Yes, Mum.
I should have stayed on deck with Krieg.
No, it was good of you to join us in the boat.
And this thing
They
had
haven't
a
allowed you to
spa,
I'm sure we will be back on
swimming
deck
pools,
shortly.
a
Never
gym,
mind that
a
saying.
barber shop,
What if there is real danger?
and
The captain said
they
so
even had their own form
This
of
is
Western
just a
Union
precaution.
back then. The Marconi room, where the
There's
guys
fog
were supposed to send that
on the
message, the
horizon,
CDQ message.
No moonlight.
They were
Yes,
actually
it's hard
using
to see
that
anything
to send
tonight.
messages back
I
home.
doubt the other
Customers
ship
would
will
come
even see
in
us approach.
and pay them, and they would,
Mom,
you know,
can you
wire
hold
messages
this,
back
please?
home. So that was, in a sense, that was a
Much
form of
better.
Western
Thank
Union
you.
back then.
Let's hope they see us.
It looks like some boats don't have their
And
lanterns lit.
the guys working in
No
the Marconi
stars.
room
Sky is
received
beautiful
several
tonight.
iceberg warnings.
Look
And
at
at
them
one point,
all
they were
around.
telling, you know, they told somebody
Are
to
there any
shut up.
supplies in
Who
this
sent them
boat?
an iceberg
There's
warning?
nothing. No water, no bread, no compass.
Any blankets?
I don't see any.
There are a few here.
Yes, some here too.
Hey, even
officer,
back then in
officer,
1912, that was still a beautiful ship. Looked like a floating hotel.
I can't swim.
Coward. Get over there and start rowing.
I can't. I broke my arm. That's why I can't swim.
Oh, we got a stowaway.
Please stay. I'm begging you. I don't stand a chance up there.
Sit down then. You're lucky I haven't thrown you overboard.
Here you are.
Thank you. Here you are, madame.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
You can see,
Must be
look.
a lot freezing.
Thanks.
Some of those lights on the bottom, you don't
Best
see
we
them.
keep that baby warm.
Thank you.
So you can see that the
You
ship is
warm enough,
already
Emily?
sinking. Not only is the
Yes,
ship already sinking, you can see that it's leaning to the left.
You're always so beautiful at that
According
age.
to the
Do you have
conspiracy
children
theory,
yourself?
one of the passengers
my
had
daughter
noticed
is at
that about the
home.
ship when he first got on the ship, that it
I
had
wonder
a
if the
slight
others
lean
made it
to the
the
left.
boats.
And that's suggesting that that busted keel from when it had that collision with
No.
the
Our
British
colleagues in the
the British
Alcatraz
battle
restaurant.
cruiser.
We were allowed
it
to go up to the
twisted
boats,
the
but the
keel
men are
and
being
caused
held
the
in
ship
the
to lean to the
second-class
left a little
dining
bit.
Oh, that's dreadful.
You can
Why
you
aren't
can
they
kind
allowed
of see
onto
that
the
here.
boats?
They have
Now
to
look
wait
at
until
look at
all the
those lights
passengers have left the
slowly
ship.
disappearing
I did
into the
see Mr.
water.
Morget on deck and the head chef.
You can
So
see
they might have been
that
out
ship
early.
is going
Oh,
down.
I
You can
hope
see the
so.
front end slowly
The
sinking
ship is
into the
lifting
water.
quite badly now.
The lights don't seem to be getting closer.
Perhaps they're just.
No, they're definitely lights from
Look
another
at that.
ship
You see that
with
back
a
end
signal
coming out of the
from an
water.
alien.
They look like stars.
That front end is going down,
Keep
and you
rowing
can see the
towards
back end
lights.
coming out of the water.
Captain's orders.
You should assist us rowing. Allow one of the women to steer the boat. It's a perfectly calm night.
You row, sir. I will remain in command of this boat.
The women should be allowed to row.
No!
Rowing will keep us warm, and we'll reach that ship in
Now,
half the
based on this
time.
Titanic,
I agree.
was supposed to have supposedly have happened.
I am in
Look at
charge
that.
of
Let me
this
shut
boat.
up.
The
Look at
women
that
are
front
not
end
to
going
row.
underneath.
Oh my. Look at the angle of our ship.
But it's unsinkable. Surely?
She'll sink.
You hear people screaming on board. They're still on board the ship.
Should keep her afloat.
We only glanced the iceberg. Surely she isn't that damaged?
She'll founder. It's just a matter of time.
What about those not in lifeboats?
Look at that shit. See that? The red rockets are supposed to signal that there's an emergency, but the ship that was supposed to be in place to pick up the passengers was like 12 miles away. Somebody was way out of position. Let me sit down, because I'm standing up beside this rowboat. Yeah, that was a flare.
No, the captain's orders were clear. We head towards that ship on the horizon.
Holy shit.
There's nothing we can do.
We must go back to the ship.
No.
And unlike the movie, the ship was leaning slightly to the left when the back half went down.
Keep pulling. We must get to safety. Assumption.
Yes, Daddy. Deliver us from evil.
No, I don't think so.
We must
I don't think you can change the story.
No. If we go back, they will swamp the boat.
People are dying. Can you not hear them?
It's our lives now, not theirs.
Now, I think this guy that's working the rowboat, I think this is supposed to be Robert Hinchins. He was the guy that was actually steering the ship when it hit the iceberg. And they said he was like really fidgety. He was like threatening to throw people overboard who, you know, wasn't following orders and stuff. Now, from what I understand, Robert Hinchins had a hard time getting a job. A lot of people who were on board the Titanic had a hard time getting a job. You know, the White Star staff who survived, and I guess some of them were considered to be bad luck. There was a nurse who was on board. Ironically, she was on board the Titanic, and she was on board the Britannic when it sunk too. And the Britannic was the third ship that was built by White Star Line. She never saw commercial service because right there, that's Lifeboat 6, and it only had 29 people in it. Now, one of the reasons why they think some of the ships were launched at half full, because there were some first-class passengers on the ship who were bribing the White Star staff not to let the steerage, you know, the poor people on the boat with them. So, yeah, that's some crazy ass shit. So the sandbox part, I've already explored the at least the outside of it. I haven't sent a robot sub into the wreck yet, because one of the things, you know, right there where it says play game, one of the things about playing the game, you're inside that robot submersible, and the voices coming through almost sound like helium, so it was hard to understand what my orders were. You thought it wasn't real when you were a kid? You know, there was a movie when I was a teenager, there was a movie called Raise the Titanic, where an American expedition group raised the Titanic, and then the Russians came along and were going to try to take it from them. But, you know, a couple of American battleships showed up, you know, to make sure that the Russians didn't try to take it. And in this movie, Raise the Titanic, the ship was raised in one piece. You know, the smokestacks was still intact, everything. So I actually believed that movie, and I actually thought that the Titanic was at the bottom of the ocean still in one piece. I didn't know that the ship had broken in half. Not only that, that weak spot where the ship broke in half, truthfully, it should have broken half and kind of floated away, but the reason why it didn't is because of this bench keel at the bottom of the ship, and that was almost like that's what held the two pieces of the ship together. And when the bow went down, that's what dragged the stern down with it, even though the ship was in two pieces. That bench keel hadn't broken loose yet. And I guess there was an expedition, you know, called Titanic's Final Moment. And I guess they went and explored an area that hadn't been explored yet. And I guess they supposedly found that piece of bench keel. Where that held the two pieces of the ship together. Now, what I find to be ironic, I don't know if it's real or not, you know. I find it ironic that this part of the ship, all the water down there is like black and you can't see your hand in front of your face. But yet, you know, where they found that bench keel at, you know, you can see it plain as day, you know, in front of your hand. The red paint was still on it and everything. So I don't know. I don't know how much of that shit I believe. Even, you know, I don't even know how much of this, you know, this footage that people see is real. I just don't know. 'Cause, you know, supposedly the moon to the, you know, the trip to the moon was fake. So I wouldn't put it past them. You know what I mean? So yeah, they supposedly had a plan in place to have a ship on standby, which was supposed to be the Californian, who was captained by Stanley Lord. And God, it would take forever to talk about this ship, but they were supposed to be the ship that was supposed to be in position to take the passengers off. But one, you know, somebody screwed up. Some people think space is fake in general. I don't know. You know, well, I guess we'll find out for sure if they ever allow commercial space travel where civilians can actually go into space. We'll find out. You know what? And I'm from Michigan, and this is crazy. The state of Michigan has a connection with the Titanic. When the Titanic sunk, and they brought back the survivors, I guess White Star tried to have a ship arranged to try to take J. Bruce Ishmay along with the other surviving staff out of here and try to get them back to Europe as soon as possible. But the governor of Michigan subpoenaed him to testify in the American inquiry. So the J. Bruce Ishmay couldn't quite get out of here yet. He had to testify at the American inquiry before he could get out of here. But, you know, while the Carpathia was bringing everybody back to New York, you know, I guess, you know, nobody saw J. Bruce Ishmay because supposedly he was in his room sedated. So, yeah, I could talk about this shit all day. And this documentary points to so much shit. You know, they believe that the British government helped with the cover-up because if the British government didn't help with the cover-up, White Star would have ended up going bankrupt. And that meant that 20,000 men would have been laid off. You know, and not only that, because the Harland and Wolff Yard built the majority of White Star Line's ship, it would have meant that they would have went out of business too. And they think that something like that, you know, letting these two businesses go bankrupt, it would have caused them to lose seats in Belfast and they would have lost the next election. So the British government, it is believed, you know, helped with the cover-up. And during the inquiry, what's his name? Lord Mersey, he was almost like a prosecutor who conducted the inquiry, and he was asking questions and kind of like twisting these questions and almost pointing the blame towards the Californian, the ship that was supposed to be in position to take the passengers off. So and then I also went on to do some other research even in the years beyond that, because I think the Cunard line, which still exists today, the Cunard line is basically those Carnival ships that you see. That's the Cunard line. That was White Star's main rival. They were the company that owned the Lusitania, the Mauritania. Everybody knows that the Lusitania was sunk by a German sub. And so I guess when the Cunard line fell on hard times, the British government gave them a bailout and bailed them out. And I guess after J.P. Morgan died, I think that the White Star was still in financial trouble. So the British government, I believe, made the White Star merge with the Cunard line. So they became the White Star, you know, the Cunard White Star line. And it absorbed all of the White Star, and it was just Cunard. So when they did that, they the Olympic supposedly went on to put in like 20 years of service after the Titanic sunk, which in actuality was the Titanic, but it was, you know, the switch had taken place, so it was the Olympic. So the Olympic was sold for scrap, and there's actually footage of the Olympic headed to its last place to be broken up by shipbreakers. and then like they basically tore the whole top half of the ship off, and then they took it to its final place to, you know, be scrapped. So that, yeah, that's a lot of interesting shit. So with that being said, I'm glad you guys joined me for a little bit of history. Once I'll come back and play the game at some point, and I'll do that part where you can send a robot sub inside the ship. And one of the the only spot that I'm really interested in seeing is the grand staircase, which is just basically a big ass hole. You know, there's no sign of steps there or anything, but I will go to that spot once I learn how to work the robot sub to go inside the ship, what have you. So I will do this again sometime, but thanks for checking this out. I think this is pretty cool, and that was like absolutely crazy to see that ship sink from that rowboat, to be on board that boat and witness it with your own two eyes. It's absolutely nuts. But you know, I'll do another stream sometime today. I don't know what I'm going to play, but I'll do another stream sometime today. My son has taken over the TV, so all I can do is play VR. I won't be able to play any of the other games that I picked up right now, like Far Cry 5 and Monster Hunter, that kind of shit. But anyway, I'd like to thank everybody for checking out this video. Give it a like. You know what to do. Lock the door on your way out. And I hope everybody enjoyed the ride on the Wincanton submersible and visiting the Titanic. And I will holler at y'all later. Peace out.